Hello and welcome to this Unreal Engine tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about Outlast Trials and their door system and how we can replicate it. What I have here is a door blueprint and we can interact with it in several different ways. First of all, you can just open and close it. You can also lock the door by pressing X. And whenever the door is locked, you can't open it. However, you can also kick doors. The locked door requires 3 kicks to open. And it also breaks the door and the lock on the door, so now you can no longer lock the door. You can also sprint and slam through doors. However, if you lock a door, trying to sprint through that door will not do anything. First of all, I'm just going to create a new game. I'm going to make it off of the third-person template here. I'm going to leave starter content off, and I'm just going to name it something like Trials Tutorial. Create the game here. Now that my game is finished loading, we're just going to go down here to the content drawer. We're going to go ahead to content here and just create a new folder. Just name it Door System. Just to organize everything. Now opening up this folder, I want you to go ahead and import everything that I've put in the Google Drive in the description. We're going to have several animations and interact dot. We'll go ahead and import that real quick. Also in the video, I'm going to show some images. This is how you're going to import the animations. You have to check off specific settings, and I'll go ahead and attach those images now. However, the rest of the imports, you don't need to mess with the settings. Now what you're going to want to do as well is go find some audio sources for the opening and closing of the door. You need one for kicking, and you need one for slamming, and then you also need one for locking. I'm going to leave some links in the description, and then basically off of those links are different areas where you can find those different sounds. Just make sure you download them and export them as a WAV file. Some of the locking and unlocking and opening and closing animations you might have to cut down in some audio editing software. It's completely up to you, but just go ahead and attach those now. Now that you've imported all your sounds or decided that you didn't want to do audio right now, either is fine. We'll include it in the programming just because. We're going to go ahead and set up our first person camera. So go back to your content drawer here. Go to third person, blueprints, open your player character. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the viewport up here. Go ahead and select your camera. What we're going to do is just drag it on the left side here all the way onto the mesh and parent it to the mesh, making it that it follows the mesh's movement. Go ahead and delete the camera boom here. Now under the follow camera here, you'll see parent socket. We're going to search here and type head. That parents to the player's head. Now over here under location and rotation, we're going to hit these little pins here to reset the values. Now go up here and select rotation and make sure that your snapping is on, and we're going to rotate it on the blue 90. Also on the red 90. There we go. Now we're going to use the move tool, and we're just going to push it forward until it's level with the character's eyes. That's a little bit too far, so we're going to go ahead over here to the location under the Y here and just move it until it's about right there. File and save. Now with the follow camera selected, we're going to go ahead and search here and say control rotation, and you'll see use pawn control rotation. Go ahead and tick that. Now under the character, under self, we're going to go ahead and check use control rotation, yeah. File and save. And now when you play your game, you should be having a first person camera. Now that we have our first person character set up, we're going to go ahead and set up our interact dot. So go ahead and open up your content drawer here. Go back to content, go over to your door system. We're going to go ahead and right click and add under user interface a widget blueprint. Click user widget. We're going to name it BP underscore interact dot. Go ahead and open it up. What we're going to do is grab a canvas panel, drag it into here. We're going to grab an image, drag it right here. Now under anchors on the right, we're going to choose the center anchor. We're going to reset position X and Y here. Go ahead and set the size to 5 and 5. And we need to center it, so go ahead and set the position X to negative 2.5. Do the exact same for Y. There we go. Now here under brush, we're going to drop it down. Under image, we're going to choose our interact.image. Compile and save. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our first person character. Go to event graph here and find event begin play right here. We're going to go ahead and say create widget. After this, we're going to do add widget to viewport off of the return value. Or just add to viewport. Going to go ahead and level these out. Now under the class here, we're going to choose our interact dot. I could spell, good lord. Hit compile and save, and now whenever you play the game, you should have a dot in the center of the screen here. Now that we have that all set up, we're going to go ahead and create a very simple sprinting system. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do key left shift. You'll find left shift under keyboard events. Now what we're going to do is grab our character movement right here and drag it in. Off of this, we're going to do set max walk speed. We're going to copy and paste here. Drag it into here. Under pressed, we're going to put this here. Under released, we're going to put this here. My mouse is quite literally 4 or 5 years old and breaking, so I absolutely need to get a new one. Keeps dragging off of pins that aren't supposed to be dragged off. It's strange. Alright, so now under our character movement here, we're going to go also max walk. We're going to change our max walk speed here to 300. If it says 3.0 meters per second, you can just compile and save and it'll go to that 300. You don't need to change it again. Now under pressed, we're actually going to change our max walk speed to 700. And under released, we're going to go back to 300. We also need to create a variable for later code. So over here under variable, click add and name it is sprinting ? Compile and save and make sure the default pin is false. And then what we're going to do is drag it out here. Say set. Drag it into that pin, copy and paste, and put it on the bottom here as well. The top portion under pressed is saying you pressed left shift to sprint, so that means this is true, and the bottom would be false. And that's all we need to do for sprinting. Go ahead and highlight all of this and press C to make a comment and call it sprinting. And that's it. Compile and save. And now whenever we play our game, you should walk at a slow speed, yet holding shift means that you start sprinting. Now that we've got all that done, we're going to go ahead and start with the interacting. Sorry about earlier, I had a noise gate filter on my mic, and for whatever reason it would cut out half the things I said no matter how much I played with the levels. So now what we're going to do is open our content drawer. We're going to find some empty space, right click, go to blueprint. Then we're going to do blueprint interface. Name it BP_interaction interface. Open it up. We're going to create 3 different functions. First, we're going to have interact. Second, we're going to have lock/unlock. Then we're going to have kick. Compile and save, and then close this out. Now some empty space here, we're going to right click and do key F and find keyboard events F. This is going to be whatever key you want to use for interacting, however you can do whatever you'd like. Now under pressed, we're going to make some space over here. We're going to do line trace by channel. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drag our camera in. Off of this, we're going to say get world location. Then we're also going to do get world rotation. We do a add off of the get world location. And then we're also going to plug it directly into the start. We're going to plug the end of the add directly into the end. Now off of get world rotation, we're going to do right here. If my mouse would work, get forward vector. Off of the forward vector, we're doing a multiply. We're going to right click on this pin here, and we're going to change it to float single precision. And we're going to plug it directly into this plus here. Go ahead and redo it. It likes to do that. There we go. So if it just, after connecting it, returns it to the normal pin, you're just going to have to redo it as a float. What this is doing is it's creating a line trace with the start point as the character's camera, and at the end point, this value forward, directly forward. So what we're going to have to do is make this a interaction distance value. So I'm just going to drag off of here and do promote to variable and call it interaction distance. Compile and save, and then go ahead under here under default value and change it to 300. This is going to apply to some other line traces we're going to do. Alright. Now that our line trace is done, over here under draw debug type, we're going to change this to for duration. Now compile and save, and anytime you want to change the overall interaction distance of the character, you just have to change this value here now. So now upon playing the game, when pressing F, you should have a line shoot out of your camera at a distance of 300. When it hits something, it'll make a little square. Now after this line trace, we're going to go ahead and add a branch. And what this is doing is checking if we actually hit something. And if we did hit something out of this out hit, which has all the info for everything that we hit, we're going to do break hit results. Drop this down. And then what we need to do is we need to call off of the hit actor, the actor that was hit by our line trace, interaction. Or just interact here under BP interaction interface. And then plug it into true. And go ahead and drop this back up. That's completely it for our interaction. Compile and save. Now I need to do the exact same thing for our kick and lock and unlock. So all you're going to do is you're going to copy this entire section here except for the interact part at the end. Control C, Control V and paste it below. Go ahead and move it left a little bit. And then paste it again, since we're doing this 3 times in total. Alright, so on the second value here of F, we're going to go ahead and delete this. We're going to do key V, or whatever you'd like your kick to be. And go ahead and find it down here. There we go. Keyboard event V, we're going to plug pressed into here. Then down here for F, we're going to delete this and do key X, or whatever you'd like your lock and unlock key to be. Find it here. There we go. Alright, now with the kick here at the end on this branch, we're going to go ahead off of true and say get all actors of class. And off of this, we're going to do a for each loop. Then off of this for each loop, off of the array element, we're going to do an equals. We're going to grab the hit actor again, so drop this down and choose hit actor. Plug it into there. Drop it back up. And go ahead and just make this level 2. Then we're going to add another branch, connecting that up to the condition as well. And then we're going to call our kick off of true. And we're going to grab our hit actor again. We're going to reference that as the kick target. So go ahead and make some pins here to make some room. File and save. Now under get all actors of class, we need to select our class, but we haven't even created it yet. So what we need to do is we need to go to our content drawer, find some empty space, right click and do blueprint class, make an actor, and call it BP_door. Now that we've created it, we have an actor to choose from, so go ahead and select this drop down, and we're going to type door. Go ahead and choose that one, compile and save. All that this is doing is that we're checking if the actor we hit is a door. If it is a door, we're grabbing that specific door using this loop and calling kick on that door. How this works is that what this node is doing is getting every single door inside the game. For each loop is looping through every single door in the game and checking if it is the one equal here to the hit actor, the one that was hit by our line trace. And if they find it, then we call kick. Now all we're going to do is copy all of this code here except for that kick at the end. Control C, Control V, plug it right in here. Drop down and do the hit actor again. Drop it back up. We're going to plug it back into this equals. And then this is the X, yes, so we're going to go ahead and call lock/unlock instead. And then go ahead and connect that up to true. Compile and save. We're going to go ahead and select this up here. Go ahead and select all of it and then do a comment with C. We're just going to call it interaction. Do the exact same here. Do a comment with C and call it kick. Now over on the X, do the exact same thing and call it lock/unlock. It's always good to organize everything in your game. Compile and save. That should be that part done. Now that we have this completed, we're going to go ahead and set up our door blueprint. Go to your content drawer and open up your BP_door. Go ahead and hit add, and we're going to do the static mesh. I'm going to leave it as static mesh. Under the static mesh here on the right, we're going to select this drop down, and we're going to do the door mesh that I had shown. Go ahead and compile and save, and let's just go back to our world. We're going to go ahead and drag it into our world and make sure it's the correct size. I believe that it needs to be at 0.5. The mesh ran a little big. So go ahead and open up your content drawer and drag it over here into the world. Yeah, it is pretty big. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it this way. There we go. And under the scale, make sure to lock it here, and I'm going to set it to 0.5. When you play your game, this should be about the right height. Yep, this works just fine. Now go ahead and open back up your BP_door blueprint. Go to the event graph. And then go ahead and delete all of this here except the event begin play. Compile and save. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create some variables to make the coding later easier. So first of all, we're going to add a variable here, and we're going to add one called door has lock ? Compile and save and set that default value to true. Now add another one. We're going to say this one is locked. We're going to add another one and add door broken. Another one saying door closed. And another one saying can interact. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add another. We're going to name it current kick count. And we're going to make it of type integer. Go ahead and compile and save and make this of type 1. While we're here, let's go ahead and go to door closed and set it to true. And also set can interact to true by default. Compile and save. Now what we're going to do is add another variable, and we're going to name it door max kick count. And by default, we're going to set this to 1. In my mistake, I just realized we're supposed to set our current kick count to 0 because our character should start the game without having kicked a door. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is click on door has lock, make it instance editable, and we're also going to do that with locked. Door closed. And that's it. So compile and save. All that means is whenever we go back to our map here, when you click on the door under default, it should have the ability to check off if you'd like the door to be locked or not. And we are going to set it up to where whenever you check door closed as false, that the door will be open at the start of the game. Now back in the door blueprint, off of this event begin play, we need to start making a cast to the player character so we can change things around in the player from this blueprint. And luckily for us, casting to the player is the easiest cast of all time. All I need to do is drag off of here and say cast to BP underscore third person character, this top one here. Off of the object, we just need to say get player character. That's it. It's crazy how easy it is. Now right off of this pin here, we need to go ahead and promote it to a variable, and we're going to name it player reference. Just going to move this up here. I like to disconnect pins and then level it out by pressing Q and then put the pins back. It just makes it look better. Now after that, what we're going to do is we're going to set up that the door will be open or closed at the beginning of the game depending on if that value is checked. So what we're going to do is do branch right here. And we're going to plug into this door closed. If true, we're not going to affect it. However, sorry, I was just organizing there. If false, we need to change the rotation of the door. So grab your static mesh right here. Off of that, say set relative rotation. I'm going to go ahead on this and say split structure pin. This is where you're going to decide what your door's rotation should be whenever it's open. So I'm going to plug this into false here. And that would be under the Z value. I found -100 to be a good value. So go ahead and compile and save and let's test it out. So go over to your map here. Now by default, when you click play, this door should just stay closed. Ooh, why is it jittery? Good Lord. Well, this door is going to stay closed. However, when we uncheck this door closed pin and we press play, it should now be open. There we go. And if that looks like a good rotation for you, you can keep it like that. However, if not, you can change the value around until it looks nice. I'm going to go ahead and recheck door closed. Now lastly, off of this true here, we're going to make another branch. The condition is just going to be if it's locked. Now if the door is locked, we need to set the max kick count to 3. However, if it's not, it's going to stay at 1. This is going to be in our code later as well. This is just saying that if our door is ticked at locked, it's going to take 3 kicks to kick it open. However, if it's not and unlocked, you just need to kick it once. You can set this to whatever you like. I know in Outlast you can earn perks. I forgot what the perk is called, but I know that there's a perk that allows you to just do 2 kicks to open the door. You can implement that as well with another YouTube video if you like. It should be pretty easy. Go ahead and compile and save. And then we're just going to make a comment off of this and say event begin play. So now what we need to do is set up our interaction with the door. So over here under class settings, implemented interface, we need to add our interact interface right here. Now under interfaces, we should have all these options pop up. So compile and save, and we're going to go ahead and double click on interact here. What this is doing is it's shooting a line trace at the door and marking it as interacted here in our first person character. And after it hits that door, it's going to go to this specific blueprint here and mark on what to do when it becomes interacted. So first of all, we're going to add a branch. We're going to tie in locked with the branch as the condition. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we can actually interact with it. So under false, we're going to tie in can interact. Then after that, we're starting the interaction, so we need to set can interact to false. After it's set as false, we need to add another branch, and we need to see if we're opening or closing the door. So the condition will be if the door is closed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check if the player is sprinting. So press a Boolean here, because remember, if you sprint and hit the door, it counts as slamming the door. So we need to check that as well. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab our player reference here. And we're going to type out of the player reference, get is sprinting from that variable we made earlier. Plug that into the condition. So we're just checking if the player is going to be sprinting at this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to create some new events in order for this to work. So what we have to do is right click here, create a custom event. We're going to name this one kick door open. We're going to make another custom event. We're going to name it open door. We're going to make another custom event. We're going to name this closed door. We need to call all of these events, so what we're going to do, if the player is sprinting, then we're going to call kick door open. If the player is not sprinting, we're going to call open door. And if the door is open, we're going to do closed door. Now what we're going to do over here in some space, we're going to make a delay. I'm just going to level it out with this branch. Well, let's do it with this branch here. Well, I guess we can't. I forgot that you need the pins tied to actually do that. So we'll make the delay and just line it up with here. And then we're going to plug in all of these into the delay. Oop, didn't mean to do that. It's my stupid mouse. We'll do a delay time of about 1 second. And then we're going to set can interact to true. The reason we're doing this is it's almost to prevent input spam. So basically what's happening is that we are completing the entire process and calling to open and close the door, and after a second we're able to call the process again, because remember at the beginning we're checking if we can interact, and if it's true we can, if false not. So as long as this delay completes after we've interacted, every second we can press F to interact. We don't want you to be able to spam it and cause the door to open and close rapidly. So go ahead and compile and save here. Go ahead over to the events we created and move kick door down, or kick door open I mean, down here. And we're just going to mess with open and close door right now. Let's go ahead and make them together. I like to have open door on top. Alright, so what we're going to do is whenever we open the door, we need to set door closed to false. And then copy and paste it, and we need to set it to true when we close the door. Now what we're going to do is we're going to call play sound at location. right here. Copy and paste up here as well. And then off of the location, we're going to go ahead and grab the static mesh here of our door. We're going to do get world location. And then we're going to plug this both into the location here. Compile and save. Now for the top here, for open door, you need to choose your sound for opening a door. So I'm going to do open door for mine. However, you can put whatever sound you imported. And over here, of course, on the bottom, we need to do door close. Alright, now what we need to do, right at the end here, we need to right click and do timeline. We're going to do add timeline. We're going to name it open/close door. We're going to move it to the center here, and we're going to connect the open door here at the top to play from start, and the closed door from reverse from end. Go ahead and double click to open the open closed door timeline here. Go ahead and click plus on the track, add float track, and name this door float. We're going to make the length 1 second, and then all we're going to do is we're going to right click and add a key, time 0, value 0, right click to add another key, time 1, value 1. Compile and save, and then go back to your event graph here. Now we should have the door float here. All we're going to do is drag off of this, and we're going to do a multiply. We're going to multiply it by the door's end rotation. So last I put -100. You can see that earlier right here. However, put it to whatever value you'd like the door's end rotation to be. Then what we're going to do off of this update, we're going to do set relative rotation based off of the static mesh. Go ahead and drop this down. Or actually, no, don't drop that down, my bad. We're actually going to split the structure pin here. And then we're going to plug this into the yaw here. And that's all we have to do for the door open and close. So go ahead and hit compile and save, and I'll explain. So basically what we're doing for opening the door, we're setting it to not closed, and we're playing a sound, the opposite for the closed door. And then we're playing a timeline. What a timeline is that you're creating a graph basically from 0 to 1. So basically in 1 second, we're going to go from 0 and climb all the way to 1 and multiply that by the door's end rotation. And when you do that, you create an animation. So it's slowly over 1 second opening the door from 0 to 1 and then setting the rotation on the update. So now if we play the game, the door should open and close with sound. And if you keep trying to press F, you'll see that input spam working to where it can't repeatedly open and close the door. Normally, if you did not do input spam, your door would kind of shudder back and forth if you kept pressing F. However, in this case, we prevented it from doing that. So that is actually it for the door open and close. It's pretty simple. Now that we've finished these two here, we're going to go ahead and highlight both of these here and create a comment to organize them. This one I'm calling interaction. I'm going to go ahead and actually move this over here so that there's more room. That one's interaction. Highlight this one. We're going to say door open / close. And then we're going to move that right here. Let's keep track of this one here as well. So I'm going to move it right here. Find some space. I'm going to do right here, and we're actually going to work on the door locking. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click here on the interfaces lock unlock. So I'm going to move this over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a branch. And then off of this branch, I'm actually going to do an AND Boolean. What an AND Boolean is, you need several conditions to be true or false. So I'm going to add a pin here. Tab 3, we need to plug in door has lock, can interact, and we also need to plug in door closed. If
if all three of these conditions here are true, then we're going to go ahead and grab our player reference. We're going to do disable input. Plug that into true. Now off of here, we're going to do get player controller. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste the player reference again, right here. We're going to drag off and say play anim montage. Plug these in. Now as you'll see, when you try to select an animation, you can't because you technically need a montage. That's pretty easy to do though. This is down in the content drawer here. You'll see the two animations that I provided in the Google Drive. Right click on one of them. And then up here at the top, you'll see create, and you're going to choose create anim montage. And then you're going to just enter with the same name, and that's it. You're going to do the same with the other one. And that's it. These animations are actually from Adobe in a website called Mixamo, where you can basically target characters and make animations off of animations that Adobe has already made. If you want to learn how to do this and import them into Unreal Engine, here's a really good video for this. This is where I learned to actually do it, and I recommend to go watch it. Now we should be able to click here on Anim Montage and choose our Lock Interact montage. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to say play sound at location. We're going to do the same as before. We're going to go ahead and grab our static mesh here, drag off and say get world location. And plug that in here. Now what we're going to do the same as before. We're going to set can interact to false. And we're going to have a branch. We're going to check if the door is locked, so we're going to plug locked into the condition. So basically we're checking if the door is locked and what we're going to do if it is. So we're going to grab locked here, and we're going to do set. On the top one on true, we're going to set it to false. Then we're actually going to set false to true. Now we're going to get our door max kick count and set that as well. Copy and paste to both. On the top, we're going to do 1. Bottom, we're going to do 3. Then we're going to hold D and create a delay and connect these up. We're going to make the delay 2.5 seconds since that's the time of the animation that we set. Now off of the delay, we're going to go ahead and grab our character again, our player reference. Then we're going to say enable input. And then after the player controller, we just have to say get player controller. Now the last thing we have to do is we have to set can interact to true. File and save. Now all we have to do is go back to the play sound at location here and choose your lock and unlock sound. Now I'm going to go ahead and explain what we did. Basically what we did is we have a bunch of conditions here. Does the door have a lock? Is it closed and can be interacted with? If all of those are true, then we're going to turn off the player's input so they can't move. Play an animation of them locking the door, play the sound for the animation, and then what we're doing is we're locking or unlocking the door depending on if it is locked or not. So we're basically flip-flopping it. If the door is now unlocked, then it only takes 1 kick to open. However, if it's locked, it takes 3 kicks to open. Now after the animation is finished playing, we're going to go ahead and let the player move again and say they can interact again. Now go ahead and play your game and test it out. Should be able to walk up, press X. You should be able to move. Now you can move. Door is locked. Can't open or close it. Now we're going to go ahead and press X again. Should be able to open and close the door now. And that part is now finished. As before, go ahead and highlight it all and make a comment. We're going to say lock/unlock. I'm going to move it up here to make it look all nice. There we go. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and set up that player kicking event. So right here on the left we have kick. Go ahead and double click on that. It's going to open up our event kick. Again, we're going to add a branch. You can hold B to create one. Connect it up. And as before, you can do can interact as the condition. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a branch off of true. You're going to go ahead and have the condition of is the door closed. Now we're going to go ahead off of true as well and set can interact to false. Now what we're going to do is we're going to update our kick count. So what we're going to do is grab our current kick count, set it, give it some room. We're going to drag off of this and do an add. We're going to add 1 and grab our current kick count. So what we're doing is every time we kick the door, we're adding 1 to our current kick count. Then after this, again, we're going to grab our player reference. We're going to do disable input. Then we're going to grab the player controller.
Now copy and paste the player reference. We're going to go ahead and do play animation montage again. Play anim montage. And the montage we're going to choose is the kicking animation. Now what we're going to do, you can hold S and create a sequence. Off of 1, we're going to create a branch. Or then 0, I mean. And then off of then 2, we're going to create a delay, so hold D. We'll go ahead and do this one first since it's the shortest. We're going to make it a time of 0.5. This is just timing it to when the foot hits the door. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do play sound at location. Go ahead and get the mesh. Get world location. We're going to set the sound to the kicking sound. That's it for here. Now at the top part here, we're going to go ahead and grab our current kick count. We're also going to grab our max kick count. And we're going to do equals. Plug these both into the equals and plug it into the condition. Now for this branch, on true, I'm going to get the door current kick count and set it to 0. However, on false, I'm going to create a delay. Connect that up to false. Set the delay to 0.7. But we're also going to copy and paste the same delay at the top here. Now what we're going to do, after completed, we're going to call the kick door open. For this, we're going to grab our player reference. Then we're going to call enable input. Plug it into here. Get player controller. We're actually also going to plug in this delay to the enable input here. We can also add a reroute pin to make it a little better looking. Then after this, we're going to set can interact to true. Compile and save. Now I know this was a lot, so let me go ahead and follow through the code and explain everything, because I hate whenever tutorials will just have you do things very quickly and not really explain what's going on, because then you don't learn. So what we're doing, just like the others, to prevent input spam, we're seeing if they can interact, seeing if the door is closed, because you can only kick if the door is closed, setting can interact to false to start the input spam check. Every time you kick, you're going to add 1 to the counter, because remember, we have a door kick for the player, and we have the max kicks, how many kicks it takes to swing open the door. So we're adding 1 to it, disabling the input so we can play the animation without the player moving. Then on then 1, what we're doing is we're going ahead and checking, hey, is the current kick count equal to the maximum kick count? Meaning, did you kick it enough times for the door to swing open? yes, you're going to set the door kick count back to 0, and then kick the door open and enable input and say you can interact again. However, if not, then okay, we'll just wait 7 seconds for the animation to finish, or 0.7 seconds for the animation to finish, and then we'll enable the input and let them interact again. Meanwhile, we're waiting 0.5 seconds for the foot to hit the door and playing a sound for the door kick at the location. Now when you compile and save and play your game, we can go ahead and demonstrate that. The door will not swing open, but you can see the animation play out. Now we're going to go ahead and highlight all of this and say door kick under a comment. Move it over here. I'm going to go ahead and allow all these bubbles to contain the last part because this seems to get cut off. Now lastly, we're going to do the door kick open, so whenever the door is kicked enough times, or when you run and slam into the door, it'll swing the door open very quickly. We're going to start by creating a branch here. The condition will be if the door is locked. If the door is locked when it gets slammed open, we're going to go ahead and grab the static mesh here. Then we're going to call set static mesh. Put it under the true here. And then under the new mesh, we're going to choose the damaged door. Under false here, we're going to do play sound at location. Go ahead and connect this pin up to here as well. And then for the location again, we're going to grab the static mesh. We're going to do get world location. We're going to go ahead and choose the slam open sound. So I had door slam here. Now what we're going to do at the end here, we're going to right click and do add timeline. And we're going to name this one door slam open. Then we're going to connect this up to the play from start. Go ahead and double click to open it up. And same as before, go ahead and add a track and do a float track and name it door float. In this case, we're only going to make the length 0.2. We're going to right click and add a key, time of 0, value of 0. Add another one, time of 0.2, value of 1. Go ahead and head back to your event graph now. I'm going to go ahead and grab this and just make some room. Now as before, go ahead and grab a multiply with the door's end rotation, -100. Off of update now, we're going to do set relative rotation. Based off of the static mesh here. Again, we're going to split the structure pin. Sorry, someone's car alarm just went off. I have an apartment next to a parking garage. This is the best thing on the planet. I love waking up with head beams in my eyes. Alright, go ahead and plug this into the Z here. And that's it here. However, here on the bottom, off of finished, we also need to drag off of here. We're going to set door closed to false. Plug it into finished. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a branch. The condition of this branch will be if it's locked. If it's true, we're going to set door has lock to false. And then set our door max kick count to 1. Now after this, we're going to go ahead and do if it's locked. Then we're going to set that to false, and plug it into here, as well as we're going to plug it in to the false here. Compile and save. Now this is the code completely finished, so zoom out, highlight all of this, and press C to make a comment and say kick open. and move it somewhere nice. I'm going to do right below here, seems fine. And that's it. That's everything completely done. So go ahead and compile and save, and now play your game and test it out. Now what we have here is a door. We can open and close. We can kick it. It'll open the door. Now we can lock the door. You can kick it 3 times. It'll open. When it's open, the door will visibly look broken, and on top of that, you are not allowed to lock it anymore. And now we're going to close the game and open it again, because if you sprint and run through the door, it slams open. It's not visibly broken though. But if you lock the door, then you sprint, the door won't do anything. Thank you everyone for watching. That's the end of today's tutorial. Please consider subscribing to my channel. It helps a lot, and I'm trying to grow so I can do this full time. And on top of that, if you have any questions or need any help with anything, please drop a comment and I'll get to you as soon as I can. As well as if you want to recommend another video I can do, you can do that there as well. Have a great rest of your day.